Welcome to Spiel of Time. Saying it out loud is so much more fun. Coming up with it. There the Wheel of Time. We're going to be talking about Wheel of Time episode 6, right? We're at 6, yeah. The Flame of Tar Valon. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself. I'm, for those of you listening to the audio version, Frank. I'm here with Judd, Natty, and Laura. This was an impressive interest. I was blown away with this episode. I almost want to be like end of review. I loved it. It was great all the way through. For the three of you who are more familiar with this story than I am, how much of this was new?
That's a good question.
I wouldn't say any of it was really new. It was
just pulled from different places.
Yeah, a lot of it was expounded upon, maybe, that you kind of knew was there, but they didn't blatantly outright say it.
So yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think are we talking about the big major thing?
Yeah, so what we should probably
Swan on the boat. That's right. That's it, right?
Like, that's it. No one ever
for childhood. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the major thing that happens is oh god, I don't have any of the names in front of me. That's a terrible time for a computer crash. We get a little bit of the origin of the ruler, the Amaranth seat.
Yeah. Yes. The Lady Pope.
Yep. Her backstory. We also see a little bit more of the inner machinations of this group and the secret love story that is the backdrop of this mysterious quest to find the Dragon Reborn. And I'm just curious about how much. It's a wonderful episode pulled together seamlessly. It makes perfect sense. But I'm shocked that this was in the original books. I don't know if
it was inferred. Me. I had missed it when I looked things up. Someone was like, "Oh yeah, it says that Moraine and Schwan were pillow friends."
Yeah,
pillow friends.
But it was
when they were younger.
When they were younger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we got and we also got it from Moraine's point of view, which we didn't really get, if at all, maybe ever in the book. So yeah. And it could just be that I'm also decades older now, but I was just like, I was definitely I was seeing it from Moraine's point of view. Definitely. Like when she went up that hill, I was like, those fucking redneck kids better be on that fucking hill or else I'm going to lose my mind. Like I was definitely feeling like Maureen's point of view of like, I just got exiled and these kids better be here, get in the gate, Matt, you dumb shit. Like what's wrong with you? Like
get in the gate.
Get in the gate.
Oh, so that I love that. I love the fact that this has roots in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps I was just being unfair to the series, but and the fact that it's like I feel vicariously for everyone out there who has been waiting to see this on the big screen or the little screen for so long that this is amazing.
That's the thing. I mean, I think Laura, you were saying it's like it was kind of implied, but it wasn't like we didn't that scene we didn't see happen.
Nope.
No. So I think in the books they talked about a lot of women having pillow friends when they were, before they became Aes Sedai. That's just part of growing up. It's college. It's a college phase.
Yeah.
So that's how it was presented. Like everyone has that.
That's great.
And and so people are friendlier with each other because they were pillow friends when they were younger, stuff like that. So that was a way that they explained alliances kind of, I felt like in the books, but it wasn't really discussed in detail.
Yeah.
Because it was in the past.
Sorry. And pillow friends, not to be confused with pillow pals, which are on my kids' Christmas list. So very different.
Those are
very
back.
different.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And-
amazing.
Yeah.
I had a pillow buddy.
Yeah, and not to be confused with the warders who have bunk buddies.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
No,
This
they
is-
do not.
There's a
I
lot
am
going
making that
on.
up. Making that up.
Yeah.
So what I,
anything with alliteration is leaning towards something else. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
so I have friends who are film studies people and love to examine how references to gay people, gay characters in the past during like the 30s and 40s and well into the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s were kind of concealed. There was like euphemisms and terms that you would use. They were always there and always front and present, but they weren't allowed to be upfront.
Mhm.
And what I love about Pillow Friends is it feels like that. It feels like if I were a young person reading it, I'd be like, oh, they were like, young girls, like it's like a gossip term, right? Like you were friends, you would share your what's it called, a sleepover buddy, right?
Yeah.
And now all of this feels like euphemisms too. They loved each other. That's I love it. That's so good. It's so good.
That Wilson boy over there, now, he's a right dandy, everyone says.
Indeed.
I just wonder when he's going to get himself a wife. It's a tough
confirmed
thing.
bachelor. Confirmed bachelor. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So it was impressive to see, and I feel vindicated that it actually is something that was in the books. That's wonderful. All right, so somebody who has more experience with this, what's something you want to break up and talk about? Anybody want to go? Show of hands.
Judge, you.
I mean, I just like that she's got her, this power couple is dating, and they see this prophecy happen, and they're like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna become the Lady Wizard Pope, and I'm gonna go chase the Messiah prophecies, and we'll meet back and save the world in a couple years. And they just do it,
But in secret.
in secret, and
In
total
secret.
badass. Yeah, just I don't know. I really loved seeing. I mean, I because we've got these amazingly talented actors playing these parts. It's cool to see it from Maureen's point of view, and it was cool to see her navigate all this, and it's the payoff, right? Because everyone's been talking about, Maureen, what's your secret? Maureen, what are you up to? And she's like, nope, not telling you jack. And like, so this is kind of the payoff of that, and I liked it. I thought the payoff was great, and you have a lot more. I don't know, and again, it could just be because I'm older and I read this when I was 16. I feel like you're really feeling Maureen's point of view a lot, like just feeling like, feeling that she has a good point to make, because I feel like in the book they just keep driving home that she can't be trusted, and that she wants to make people dance on strings, and it is consistent that the language around her is about controlling people and about manipulating them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And
See,
go ahead, Lauren.
No, I felt that in the book, that she was like, you couldn't trust her and all that. But I also felt like in the book, you could tell that she was doing something extremely important with everyone against her except for Suan and Lan. So I felt like in the books, I felt her frustration in the books, and I felt that frustration in the episode. So I appreciated that. In the books, her story, I needed more of it, and maybe in the show they'll give more. So we'll see.
think they have such a talented, she's just so good, and I think they'll and she's the face of the show, so I think that's why they're like,
Yeah.
hey, you do some heavy lifting.
Mhm.
I feel like it's almost like a little bit like The Hobbit, but from Gandalf's perspective or something like that. Like you're actually getting to see some of the machinations and whatever. But I think that we got to see more of Tar Valon and everything. again, like just the attention to detail is gorgeous. We found out what our painting was about.
Mhm.
It's
That was
I believe it's
Great
called,
payoff.
and you guys can correct me, a terangriel or something like
Yep.
that. Terangriel. And so that's it's actually, I think, the second kind of these magical helper devices. I don't know if you're doing D&D, or if you're whatever, and or if you're playing Survivor and you find an immunity idol which has this power, but there's these things that can help expand people's powers, and there's ancient artifacts, and so I guess that uh, this thing on the wall allowed her to. And did she physically go there, or was she in the dream
I don't
world?
know. I'm not sure. It seemed like it was like the personification of where they wanted to be together.
That's
That's
nice.
the way
Yeah.
I read it.
That's a
and I
nice
loved
idea.
it.
That's a
Yeah.
nice idea.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't
the-
tell if that
I-
was her room or not. But I think in the book they described Swan's room as looking like her room would be in
Oh,
Tyr. So
Interesting.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know, because she's an ambulance seat, she could do whatever she wants. She could,
Yeah,
she
what
could make
she
it-
was using magic or weaving to make her
could,
room special.
She can make her room look how she wants. But
Yeah.
And in her house that got burned down, did you see we had another of the kind of half
Mhm.
Yeah.
the
yin
dragon
yang.
fang.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
So-
yeah, I think a lot of this goes around to showing instead of telling, and where the differences
Yes.
in the books and the film are. So Rosamund Pike is like renowned for playing characters that are you kind of love and hate, or trust and are suspicious of. There's I think it's Gone Girl. She's in Gone. I think yeah, that's the movie, right? It's called Gone Girl, where she is
Oh.
both a missing person. Yeah.
That's her. Okay.
Yeah, she's a missing person, and possibly someone who intentionally makes, I don't want to spoil Gone Girl for you, makes herself missing. And then she's in I Care a Lot, which is a more recent film.
Yes.
Again, she's supposed to be this really powerful, dynamic person, but is horribly sinister at the same time. And she's wonderful at portraying that. So you get to see people distrust her. And to be perfectly honest, for the first 5 episodes, I'm like, why are they so against her? I guess they're against the blues in general. But this episode, I'm like, oh my God, she really is full of machinations. The plot of getting herself exiled, that's world building. You create a magical order of wizards, make up rules for how they can demand, how different factions can demand things of their underlings. Then put yourself in a position where you have to go out adventuring again with the hero, because you're going to figure out a way of getting yourself exiled. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful world building. I
So
love this.
did you know? So when she did that, there was an ode.
Oath Rod.
Oath Rod, thank you. Ode Roth is what I was trying to not say. And it was another one of those things where you have to listen to the words that are being said.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen very closely, the oath that she said is not quite as airtight as you would think it would be.
Yeah.
I made a note of, I will not return until you ask me to come back.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
that's
she
not-
didn't. But she didn't say the Amaryllin seat. She said
She
Shuan
said Swan.
Sanche.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's and especially with all the talk of, like, you know, Shuan's place on the seat is precarious, and we see a lot more Tar-Valon politics. Like seeing Egwene, you know, looking at the seat is like a huge foreshadowing of like her being embroiled in that politics, and one of my favorite sequences in the books that I've read. So it was cool to see that they're clearly setting things up. And I don't think they really needed to use the Oath Rod, but I think they were like, you know what, while we're here, we need to show what this thing is.
Yeah.
And so they did, which is awesome. Yeah.
And so the Oath Rod, Frank, when they become Aes Sedai, when they are raised from what is it? Beginners?
Novice.
Novices. Yeah. They have to, that's how they have to hold the Oath Rod, and it binds them to all the little things that they
The
said,
laws.
the rules.
Yeah.
That's neat. And then there's a moment where their hands touch as they're holding the oath
Yeah.
rod.
Oh yeah, she
It's
like
just
slides
this little
her. Yeah,
beautiful moment. I love it. It's
Yep.
really sweet. There's so many little moments on this. Before we get too far off of it, over on YouTube, watching us live, Kerwee says it seemed both as an entered space and that they were in the same picture. Yeah, we're kind of split on whether this was a physical space the two of them occupied or a magical space that the two of them were able to create. I like the idea of them being able to create this perfect little bubble for themselves, but still choosing to leave, right? And saying that they have work to do. But you could interpret it either way. So many great moments.
What I liked was that in the last episode, they showed you the picture, and all of us were like, "What is that picture for? That seems important." And it wasn't in the book. And then in the next episode, they're like, "Here's the reason why we showed it to you." I enjoyed that because the people who have read the books, they kind of know what's happening. They kind of can suss it out. But something like that, it's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
This makes me uncomfortable. I don't know what it is. And they took care of it immediately. Right. I appreciated that.
And there were so many cool things. Oh, go ahead, Jed. Go ahead.
No, you go now. You cool things.
There were so many cool things wrapped around that. Like, Lan came up to Moraine and he said, "You, what is it? You quieted our bond, or you severed our bond." So we found out that the Aes Sedai and the Warders have this back and forth flow, but we now know that the Aes Sedai can actually kind of like, if they need to go and do things that maybe they don't want their water to be feeling at the same time as them. I need a little me time, a little Moraine time.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Yeah.
That's all. I'll stop there.
Boundaries. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I
mean, it had been 2 years.
Yeah. Right. Neil. I loved that they showed Siuan Sanche. As soon as they showed a girl in like a fishing village, I was like, oh, I know exactly what this is. And the way that they showed that Siuan Sanche in the books came from a fishing village is she was constantly vomiting out fish metaphors and just being like, oh, the silver pike are in the net now. And it was just like, oh, stop, please stop. And so it was cool to see like the fishing, like the fishing village tattoos, and her to just embody this character who started in a hut near the fingers of the dragon and is now near Tyr and is now that at the top of the world. So cool. Like so much, like, I don't know. I loved it. And I'm reading a bunch of stuff with Siuan Sanche in my current reread right now. And it was really cool to see her portrayed so well. I adored it.
That actress is amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say perfect casting.
Yeah. So far, all the way through. Yeah.
Oh, and can everybody, like, whenever I do public speaking, can I have her second in command with the staff, like just banging on the floor? Like, I just want that wherever I go, just her like following and just being like, "Just in the house."
She plays a big part. So I'm glad that they showed her.
Yeah.
Siuan's little habit of referring to like fish metaphors does actually come up once, I think, in a back and forth with Moraine. I guess it was noticeable to me because I was like, oh, she called somebody a little pike or something.
Yeah.
They have a little nickname for each other.
Pufferfish.
Puffer, put your spines away, pufferfish.
That was cute.
Yeah. But it was adorable.
Like, oh, that's cute. And it's not heavy-handed. It's not overused. It's just enough.
Nope.
Just enough to make people who like that part of the book be like, all right.
It's like every line of dialogue that Siuan Sanche has in the book. She's like, she cannot stop talking about Silver Pike. Yeah. Yeah. They're going for like a fisherman sailor vibe with her.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There are a few other moments that I think in this scene that all kind of build up, but they're not plots themselves. They're just things that help with the world building and the Moraine building, right? The relationship building. So when Moraine sees Egwene and she does not lie, she asks if found her friends. And Moraine, who does flat out know where her friends are, Egwene's friends are, basically says, "I have people looking for them. I have eyes on every gate," or something along those lines. Is the
Right.
line, which is technically true. Yes, she does have those things, but she could have answered the spirit of the question of, "Did you find them, and are they safe?"
Right.
So wonderful. And the other side of it is her moment with, I forgot the name of the Red, who is our chief,
Leander.
Yeah. When she drops the bomb on her,
Yeah.
that drops the hammer is, "I know about the man," and
It
it's
was
just
quick,
like a sting, and she shuts up, and it's just it builds on the other character as well. Like, why would this person of all the people have a romantic side interest? It's so interesting. It's so
well. That's the fun thing, is it's an assumption that it's a romantic.
It's romantic.
True. Yes. Absolutely.
Who knows what the relationship with this man could be?
Right.
And that ties in.
Maddie.
There's so much of the intrigue of the tower in there, and we get to see. So if you see the Amerlin seat sitting, and then each Aja has 3 sitters, they're called, that are in that. Those are the ones that are around there. So that was really cool to see, and
I love it.
I was really shocked at how Moraine had to really supplant herself, like kiss the floor. And you may not have. What do you need? The cookies are gone, but there's cookies over there if you want them as well. Top shelf to your right. Hi, my child wanted cookies.
So do I, honestly.
Cookies don't wait. Cookies don't wait for anybody.
I mean,
Dad, there's cookies.
Sharing?
Aren't there cookies? And the bad thing is I have eaten all the cookies. But there's other cookies. Lower, go down one. So
it's recorded now that you ate them all.
Yeah, that's Swan say to Moraine, I don't know, Moraine House of Damodred or whatever.
Yeah.
So she used her proper name, which is not something Aes Sedai do, because once you come into the tower, you're supposed to kind of leave that past behind.
Yeah,
so that was like
clothes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an extra crack of the whip. Like, there was so much stuff to get into.
And I pieced that together. I did not know what was happening, obviously. Once again, having not read the book, not obviously because I'm an idiot, but I didn't know, and I was able to piece it together because it's well done. It's really well laid out. You get the feeling from the way everyone's acting and reacting that, oh, you're not supposed to say full names. That's implying she's not really she's not a full-blown Aes Sedai, and I love it. That's so good.
Yep.
So I think I hit a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about the. Oh, I'm sorry. The last little moment of Morgaine building is the stupid enough to steal an evil dagger is the first thing she says to Matt when she sees him, and I'm like, "You are a wizard." That's how you show you're a wizard in a good fantasy film. You full of a took. That's what exactly what I meant. Yes, that's a line to be like, I have wisdom and a little bit of pity for you because you couldn't have possibly known more. And Lane was looking a little upset about it because it's kind of his fault that he brought them in there. It's really just excellently done all the way around.
I love that scene with Mashadar. Mashadar? I think it's the spirit, like the what she pulled out.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is from Shatter Logoth, and just the way that it covered her mouth.
Yeah.
I freaked out.
It was like trying to get in. And it was, it was
I loved it so much. Yeah. It was like Venom.
The way
it was a
Matt,
good scene.
Like, it was so well shot when he like lunged at her with it, I thought, and she froze him in air or caught him with air, I guess.
Yeah.
It was it was such a quick, like, violent jump that I was just like,
It was really different than the other instances of her using power, because the power before, it was showy and you saw the big lights and all this stuff, and what she did with Matt probably took a whole lot more of the power, but it was very like controlled, and it wasn't wasn't very showy, like the magic part of it. The Mashadar coming out was, what was important and
Very vulgar, and
what
then,
made the
Yeah.
scene.
yeah. And again, another call out from Caraway when the line of if you call yourself a wisdom, show some. Right, that was another mic drop. Another, like, she just has these dagger lines throughout this episode. Maureen,
she's tired of their bullshit.
she's been
Yeah.
putting up with this
Tired.
for years,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you could tell it's wonderfully done. Ah,
And also in the dagger scene, you really get to see Rand and Lan kind of sizing each other up when he goes to help, and there's like a moment where they kind of lock eyes in this
neat.
thing.
nice.
Yeah, it was. So that was cool too.
Because they had just had a moment, because Lan had just basically taken his sword away from him and said, "You're being an idiot," and so I think they needed to like reconnect and be like, "Oh no," because I feel like those are two characters who end up connecting, and no big spoilers there, and so it's cool to see them doing that. I feel like they're definitely like laying the foundation. Like they're not thinking, oh, we're only going to get one season of this. Like they're writing and directing this as if they're going to get all 10 whatever seasons they're going to need to finish, or 8 or 7 or whatever, 32. And yeah, they're clearly, going for it, which is cool.
I think it's the only way to do it too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's and I from what I read, he's looking for, I think, at least 8 was the number that I heard, but
perfect.
I don't even think that's enough. I think
it's not. Well, it's
just do this forever.
When she opened the door to the ways, I'm like, holy shit! Like they're actually going to do this whole book.
Right.
In this one season. I thought that the second half of the book, because Tar Valon is kind of like a midpoint-ish sort of in like the first book, and then the second half is a completely different book. It's a different journey.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit me until she opened that's like, okay, so they're finishing the book this season.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't there's so much.
But
yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
So it's just amazing that they're still able to make it make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they're cutting so much.
Pacing is one of the biggest issues we've ever had in reviewing all the things we've ever reviewed on the network. We can love these Marvel movies, these Disney movies, whatever it is. And inevitably we always have an issue with the pacing at some point. Sometimes we'll say that the story was pretty good, but because of the pacing, it ruined the climax, or it made things feel unsatisfactory. Game of Thrones, I can't believe we haven't even brought it up yet this episode. It's almost inevitable as the major big fantasy thing. Another show that almost kind of notoriously has a pacing issue, at very least in the last season, if not every other season. The fact that they seem to be hitting the pacing perfectly at such a huge story to condense it in a manageable number of episodes is shocking.
Yeah.
And it shows a lot of care for what they're working on.
They're also focusing on a lot of the characters. This one, it was Suan. Before, it was the warder who, lost his acid eye. Like, there's times when it's like, okay, so I understand that you want people to connect, but you're eating into my time, guys. Eating into my time.
I need to see the things.
I understand it, and it makes you more involved. So I understand why they do it.
I think that's what we were saying about early on when we were recording, that character moments are what make these things work.
Yeah.
Even if we all want to see like the big stuff, they're doing such a great job.
Yeah. So there's an interesting quote that I read that reminded me of this show and us talking about this, and especially because we just said Fool of a Took, and then we talked about Game of Thrones pacing. And so this is a quote from Terry Pratchett, who said, J.R.R. Tolkien has become sort of a mountain appearing in all subsequent fantasy in the way that Mount Fuji appears so often in Japanese prints. Sometimes it's big and up close, sometimes it's a shape on the horizon, sometimes it's not there at all, which means that the artist has either made a deliberate decision against the mountain, which is interesting in and of itself, or is in fact standing on Mount Fuji. And it's just interesting that like these things loom so large in our vocabulary for fantasy, and we're fantasy nerds. Like we're not like, Uncle Ray being like, oh, I like the sword show, let's put it on. Which was totally a thing, especially when Game of Thrones was so everywhere. But yeah, it's so in our vocabulary that we just have to talk about it, and that's interesting to me that there's just a lot of comparison and it's. I don't know. It just feels like they've only just started to dig into that, to the mine of our, childhood fantasy novels. And it's cool to see this one being done. And it's cool to see but it's interesting to me to see how we have to talk about it. It has to be in relation to Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, and then like The Hobbit is like this cautionary tale, and then we've got these other things. But anyway, I just think that's kind of interesting.
I think it makes perfect sense because you're dealing with fantasy, so you need an anchor point,
right?
Or else, because fantasy, I mean, it could literally be anything. If we're talking about pure magic, it could be complete absurdist nonsense, not connect to anything at all, and it would work if it's a magical premise, but without having some sort of anchor to our world where we can speak about it, it becomes very difficult. There's a lot of magical realism novels and short stories that are interesting, and you want to discuss it with another person, but those are almost always not translated into onto film. Like I don't know if there's an animated Metamorphosis, right? I don't know if the Metamorphosis has got an animated short or a film. There's a lot of things out there where it's difficult to find a vantage point, and then there are things, and Tolkien is a great example, where it's rooted into some sort of cultural basis that we all share, or something along those lines. And it's really, and I think I'm about to blow people's minds for this one. When I saw the Ways, the gateway for the Ways, I shouted out, "Stargate!" So much for that. I mean,
right. Right.
Sometimes it's not even like a logical fantasy thing. I was thinking Stargate? Like, I don't know why that's the vision that entered my head. It's how I related to what this thing was that they were trying to explain to me. There's a pathway to the world. I'm like, oh, that's a Stargate. So stupid, but that's the only way I was able to talk about it. I'm sorry, Daddy, you were about to say.
Well, the Stargate thing. Hold on, I have another thought. To kind of to your point, if you're watching this and you see Matt take the dagger, it kind of becomes like Gollum with a ring, or like there's a magical thing that's going to take you over. And then when they all leave Emmons Field, or whatever, the Two Rivers, it's kind of Lord of the Rings, where you have this group that is now traveling.
They're leaving the Shire.
and everything's kind of broken up. And then they get to Tar Valon, and it's kind of more Game of Thronesy, where there's a lot more intrigue and all this stuff. And so like, it's interesting that the Hobbit and stuff kind of lays a baseline, but I don't think people realize like these books, which aren't they're widely read and everything, but I don't think that they're in not the zeitgeist, but I don't think people know about them as much. And so when you say, oh, they go to Tar Valon, it's kind of like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was actually kind of like this. Like this was before.
Yeah.
So it becomes interesting, like kind of how things are spun off and which came from what, but it all builds a common vernacular. But then I don't know a lot about Stargate, but is it just a gate that you walk through and you're in another place?
Effectively, I can't believe we're talking about Stargate, but yeah, it's a sci-fi franchise based off of one film from the 90s, and you would walk through it's basically ancient aliens, right? Aliens built the pyramids and these gates that are teleportation wormhole things. So,
So is it like a on your left and people are just appearing, or because the way that was an Avengers, but like because this is more like you go through this gate and then you're on a pathway in another world.
Different, yeah.
oh, we
Different
haven't even
plane.
entered. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
not entered into this. There's no. I have no basis on my interpretation of this being a Stargate. We haven't seen anything what's on the other side yet, but that was literally the first. Like, this is what the filmmakers have to fight against.
Yeah.
Everything is a symbol of something else
Yeah.
that they have seen.
This is
someone
just the
else has seen
latest.
sort of before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I looked at that, and the only thing I think of is this stone structure out in the middle of nowhere. Ancient aliens. This is a Stargate thing. They're going to teleport around, and I'm sure it'll be something else by next episode. And it's actually almost it's interesting that we didn't try to fill in the blanks on what that painting was last episode. We all questioned what it could be, but we let it go and let the story tell us. That's rare for us, for geeks, for people who are
Right.
into genre. We want to fill in those blanks as best as we can, and even if we can't fill it in with something that's close to genre, we will find something that's a little bit off and fill in the blanks.
Even
So-
that's Harry Potter. You're walking through the painting.
Yeah, okay, that actually
Painted lady.
if I knew enough about Harry Potter, or that part about where Dumbledore's brother is behind one painting, it's something
Mhm.
spoilers. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, there was a little bit of that in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny because I was just thinking, like, I was listing all these other books and I was just like, oh wait, where's the Harry Potter kind of thing?
There
And
you
then
go.
you just gave it. Yep.
You're welcome.
I think Jordan was very aware. I mean, I know Jordan was very aware of the Tolkien shadow, and especially in the first part of the first book. And it's not in the TV show, but in the book, there's like a Nine Rings Tavern, and the fact that Emmons Field is always like Emmons Field people are always referred to as like, oh, they're so stubborn, and like that's exactly what people said about hobbits, and they both. They both exported tobacco and or some kind of pipe weed. So anyway, yeah, I think there's
He
a
was
lot
very
of
aware.
he was very aware, and he was
Yeah.
playing with that, I think, in a lot of ways.
I think he embraced it definitely,
Yeah.
and then turned into his own.
Yep.
He's definitely in the middle between Tolkien and Martin.
Yeah,
Definitely in
can
that
see
middle
that.
ground.
yeah, and I think even that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I can add to that. Yeah, it does feel that. It feels there.
Mhm.
But really, just overall, just so impressed with this episode. Other than screaming out Stargate stupidly when I saw the ways. Once again, we have a wonderful line from Moraine, who says that when asked point blank what happens to those who aren't the dragon, says, well, no one can really know, which is technically true. No one can really know, but she's going in there with the expectation that they will likely die.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because I think she told Nynaeve that, because Nynaeve, how did y'all feel about Nynaeve in this? Because she was her badass, mean self, but seeing it, I'm like, oh, she's a little harsh. She just said hi to her, and so like I understood it, and that came from the books, but it was very harsh. But maybe, I don't know. What did y'all think of her with Swan? And with Moraine, like she just
I love there was
yeah,
the scene with Nynaeve and Egwene where I forget who's saying it, but it's just like, we have the most powerful channeler that we've seen in 1,000 years, and I don't know if Egwene kind of puffs up her chest because she's the perfect girl in class,
Right.
and then they're just like Nynaeve, and she's like, oh wait, I thought I
She
was a
looks
prom
at her
queen.
like, yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Laura, in terms of what I felt, I think Nynaeve is absolutely justified. I wasn't sure about it in earlier episodes because she
Mhm.
seems to be carrying the chip on her shoulder that her wisdom, her teacher gave her, right? This is the way they treated me. And I get
Mhm.
it. You know, that's your life, that's your lived experience as best as you can with this ancient order that barely ever touches your town. But now in and amongst all their politicking, especially because we as audience members saw all that politicking, when she's sort of like, I don't care about this, you're not going to win this, like she puts up that wall, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Because you definitely, this isn't in the fantasy world, you'd be the peasant, right? You're not one of these great and powerful leaders out there, and it kind of sucks that they have all this authority and power over you. So I was very much like power to the people. I like the fact that she had a chip and had a good reason for it.
And
Yeah.
they shafted her mentor, like the wisdom who taught her, went off and got, told and odds are, she wasn't, she just didn't have the goods and she wasn't powerful enough to channel as much as the Aes Sedai needed. And they were like, yeah, you'll be fine. You're not going to hurt yourself. You can go home if you'd like. And so she did. But yeah, I like that there's that backstory with the wisdom who taught her and raised her, being rejected by the tower. I think that's a cool way to put a chip on her shoulder that makes a lot more sense.
I also think she has a chip on her shoulder because being such a young wisdom, which they say is kind of unheard of, so she's having to overcompensate for being so young and being in this position of power. She's got a lot of shoes to fill there.
Yeah. And finally, a point in the comments. Yeah, what have they done for her? Really, she has done a lot of rescuing of them.
Yeah.
Of the Aes Sedai. So, yeah, I think there's a good reason for her to have been this rude. But yeah, loved it. I don't know. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? How about
I love the scene where Egwene and Nynaeve are like meet Siuan Sanche, and there's a definite, I don't know if you've ever seen a politician work a room, especially a difficult room, and they turn on a very different thing than they do when they're up on the pedestal. It was cool to see Siuan do that, and it was very believable to me that, like, oh, this is how she actually talks to people when she wants something from them, and she knows they're a little odd, and yeah, it was just cool. I just loved that depiction. I thought it rang really true to me, and it reminded me a lot of seeing New York City politicians in a room, in a library full of people meeting folks in the Bronx where I used to work, and that's a tough room, and they rock out and they do their thing, if they're good at what they do. And it was cool to see Siuan Sanche turn that on, and that was fun. Just another big applause for that depiction of her. It was great. The Wizard Pope.
I love that.
So I'm curious, Frank, you earlier in an earlier episode said that you weren't a super fan of the title sequence. Has it pulled you in at all, or are you just still skipping it?
I'm still skipping it. I should give it a shot. There's 2 more episodes left. I should focus in and see if
I mean, just because, like, now that you know stuff, I feel like there's stuff in there that you can maybe pick out or see. Like, there's no Easter eggs or stuff, but there's stuff in there where you're like, oh, okay, I see what that means. I see what that's implying.
It took me about a season to get into Westworld. Now I really enjoy that opening sequence, when I did in the last 2 seasons of it. So yeah, I think I'll give it a shot and see if it'll eventually it worms its way into my heart. Yeah. Anything
Good
else?
question.
Does anyone else want to bring up? Because all I've got is the very last moment of that episode.
I appreciate it. Kind of going into the very last moment, I appreciated Moraine's deference to Lowell, because
Yes.
You know, because she is cranky. She is bossy, super bossy. But then when she meets him, she says master builder. And that I think was very important because they are so respected in this world. And people still, you know, not normal people from Two Rivers don't know who they are, who, you know, think that they are lore. You know,
And they
just
kind of play the
that.
character almost as not as a joke, but the slow talking and all this, like some of, you know, oh, you humans. But it adds a layer to the character when this Aes Sedai, who has been running the show, refers to him as Master Builder. It kind of resets your perspective.
It's another
on the
wizard
thing.
move. Yeah, it's another wizard move. It's like I know things, then I know how to treat this person, not just roll my eyes that you're so slow. Yeah.
Remind me, when we first saw Lowell in the show, did he talk about the ale what caused the ale to come over the
No.
No?
I don't think so.
I felt like they did, but I might be getting confused.
No.
Are you
About the
rereading?
tree? I am, but I'm very, very far back. I can only do like 2 or 3 pages and then I go to sleep because I'm old.
I know that.
So it's
I
very
know Tom Maryland mentioned the IL.
Yeah, and Tom mentioned that like if they don't have their veil up, then you're safe.
Yeah.
And he was like,
then,
this was not a just killing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Loyal said that
he didn't talk about
like,
the tree.
I think he just said you're obviously an IL because of your red hair. Oh,
I must have dreamed it.
No, in the I was just gonna say the bonus stuff is phenomenal, but it's hidden and it's very frustrating. But there is an Ogier Stedding thing that talks about trees.
Oh, cool.
And if you haven't watched those, I mean, I really enjoy like this. There's this like loose animation, almost kind of painterly, with a lot of and then Archer Harkwing came through and as you're just
neat.
It's giving so much background information.
Where is that?
So if you're watching it, if you're watching it on an iPad or an iPhone, and you're watching the episode, and you go into their X-ray mode,
X-ray
vision. Yeah. Then it'll give you all the bonus stuff, and there's ones that are labeled Origins, and there's like the Dragon Reborn origin, the Greatest Warder. Something about the Stedding, something about the Ajas or the Aes Sedai, and so there's a lot of cool stuff.
And if you watch it on TV,
I think if you're using the app, like you're using whatever controller to control the app that's on TV, it does go down there too. You can do X-ray through that. I actually really do like the Prime X-ray feature because if you've seen it and you have to rewatch it for whatever reason, it gives you a little bit of extra details and fun stuff.
That might give me all the things that I was missing.
Right? Yeah.
That'll make my heart happy.
I figured you might like this. So, I actually do want to bring this up. This is again in the comments because I think this is a very interesting point we could spend a lot of time on. So Nynaeve's mentor being rejected. We didn't get a lot of details, and maybe it's an unreliable narrator because it's Nynaeve remembering what the mentor said happened when she was rejected. But if Siuan is coming from extremely poor circumstances and made it to the very top, what do we think will happen with what's going on here? Is this just a flub, a mistake? Is Nynaeve's wisdom?
I think it's what Judd mentioned. I think it's a power level thing.
Yeah.
I think
because they're taking in people. Sorry, interrupted.
I think depending on how many metachlorians they have is if they can get into the tower.
Because like Nynaeve said, she's the most powerful one in 1,000 years, and then she said, that's not a very high bar. They're taking in people because you got to realize that it's only females that have it,
right? So you already got 50%,
and those females aren't reproducing. They're not getting married. They're not.
It may actually,
So
Metachlorians is a good example then.
yeah, so
Maybe.
their numbers are going down because there's not that much of magic and the ability to access the one power anymore because they're running out. So they're
Question.
taking anyone
Yeah, that's
as long
interesting.
as they can
Right.
So that
you know,
means
handle it.
the Green Aja has all the dope birth control because
They just
they are fucking.
weave.
They're fucking all the time.
They don't talk about that in the books.
It's also shocking. It's grad school, right? Like Nynaeve's mentor might have gone and been like, you know what, I don't want to go for my doctorate. I think I'll just leave my master's and go back and be a wisdom. You know, I think, I don't know, the grad school metaphor works more and more for me the more I watch it.
Really?
It's like this weird combination between like the Pope and their cardinals and except with different colors and grad school and yeah, I think she either or she washed out and people do that. I think, you know, grad school is not for everybody and I don't think it's a kind place to train either. I don't think they get by on kindness.
In Eamon's Field, she's at the top of the food chain as wisdom. In the tower, she'd be at the bottom for a very, very long time, unless you're.
I liked all of these explanations more than just power level, because power level is unsatisfactory because I can't even, like, I don't know if that's a meritocracy in this world, right? Saying that you are powerful enough to deserve a seat in this place. If you're not that powerful, I'm sorry, there's nothing we could do for you unless you're also rich, which is another form of power. You know, that it's too complicated. It's too much fanta crap for me to follow. But if there is some unspoken thing going on, she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to take the humility of being a low level person when she could be the big fish in a little pond. I like all of that better. We may never find out. Is I guess the answer to this? This may not be followed up on.
That important.
I don't. We don't follow.
I
don't think we don't find out specific to this person, but I do feel like we find out a little bit more about the background and the hierarchy.
Right.
Maybe. I have two quick. I think there's also less Aes Sedai because if you see the politics of everyone, so people outside of people inside the tower don't trust them. But outside the power, they're kind of like this. Oh, so if you're a dad and you see your daughter, whatever, what's the likelihood that you're going to be able to, that you're going to send them there and be like, yeah, take my daughter? Like, probably not. You're probably just going to hope that they don't find them.
Right.
Well, and you have Tyr that doesn't believe in magic, and you have the White Cloaks.
I was going to ask you. Yeah, I was going to ask you if
you have a lot of areas that don't like the one power.
Yeah.
So, question regarding, I don't know if this ever comes up in the books, but in terms of the wheel itself, because besides actual bloodlines having magic and reproducing, I don't know if that's actually literally referred to, but the wheel of reincarnation, does it touch on? I suppose it does. You can be reincarnated as from male to female or from human to something else, I guess. Is that implied in the
male to female? Definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, that I think puts a wrinkle in where the magic is going, but it's a fun
a wrinkle in time. Also,
hey, that's another thing we could reference. As long as like the next iteration of the show is going to be only references. Speak like only. In references to other works.
I hope, Frank, that you're not let down. So when you bring up the wheel, I think the way that this season is going to end, there is a literal wheel that they will come to, and they all have to get around it and weave. I'm kidding.
I'm assuming. Right. No, that's what I want. I want hot wheel action. I want to see them all pushing and getting leverage. Perfect, man. I want Pat Sajak there.
It's from Lost.
Yes. I would like that too. That there's we all remember that.
Oh no, it's all coming together.
Was Pat Sajak the right person? He's Wheel of Fortune.
That was not the right Wheel of Fortune. Yes, but I thought you were going to go for the Ghost, which would be Patrick Swayze. No, so a different Pat.
All right, there you go.
Because he said the Hot Wheel action, like the the ghost.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
I gotcha.
that's
I
pretty hot.
gotcha.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
it took me a second, but I'm following you with
Yeah.
Hot Wheel action. I get it. I was
My
thinking
we're
the
all
wheel
there.
from Conan. The wheel from Conan.
Listen, it
definitely.
all works.
Oh wow,
It all
classic.
works.
Yeah.
It's all references. As long as I don't have to like think about
too
it.
hard.
Just
We'll
Yeah.
just
reference other things.
we'll just talk like that Star Trek Next Generation episode. You know,
Exactly. I was trying to reference the name, but I couldn't remember it. Yes.
yes.
So
can't-
the other thing I wrote down, because I actually wrote things down so my brain wouldn't forget them,
Snap.
was that we really get to, so the Amerlin seat is like the end all be all, and you get to see, and it's kind of referenced that her power is waning a little bit, and the fact that the Red, whose name is Leandra, stands in front of her and essentially talks back or whatever, is never supposed to happen to the Amerlin seat.
Yeah.
Like in front of the Hall of Sitters, no. And so like that really shows you how tenuous her grasp is on the tower at the moment. And especially the fact that for 20 years she's been working with Moraine behind the scenes. Like it really like, you know, like this is a very precarious situation.
I noticed it as well. It's like, why is there no punishment? And it's because it's all about the politicking. You could only move so much at one time. It's so good. My last note for this episode was that Matt is kind of hilarious.
He's so good.
He is, and my favorite. I think what I was referencing is when the gateway opens, and he says, "I'm not going in that," and they're all like, "Sure, Matt," and they all go in, and he's like, "I'm not going." I was like, "Yes." I was upset at him, but also like that's exactly what I would do. I would be like, "No, I'm not."
Is that the same as the book? Is that different?
I don't remember.
I feel like it's different. I feel like they were all in the ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he split off later.
Yeah, because didn't the waves come before they came to waves? I'm saying waves. Waves before they came to Tarvalon?
Maybe.
No, because it's the Ogier. The Ogier helps.
Okay, and they
because the Ogier built them.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yes.
Good reference.
Did they meet him in Camlin?
They meet the Ogier and Cam. Yeah.
This is a wonderful point.
Like, like this,
because they're cutting a huge part of it.
Well, Carewee's production reasons are the actor change. We knew about this going in.
Yeah.
Matt is not.
We know that, but like. Is that like, did they know he was leaving and they were like, all right, well then we're just not gonna let you come in the ways. So sorry, see ya.
Well, maybe that's why it's so unintentionally hilarious. I have to watch it again. But if they're taking like one line he says and then saying, "Oh wait, we know he's not there anymore, so let's just focus on him." When he says he was afraid of going in, we're just gonna make it look like he didn't want to go in.
And then when they come out, they're gonna find him and they're gonna be like, "Matt, you look kind of
completely
different."
changed.
He's like,
yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Hey, I'm say Matt, you always Matt.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, whoa. Yeah.
All right, so there's some so I do have a trailer for the next
I want to make sure to hear it.
Let's do it.
Are we doing this? Okay. I think that's a yes. So yes,
good primate noises, Natty.
If you don't want to see this trailer for some reason, just hum to yourself for literally 30 seconds.
Where are we?
The fortress city of Faldara.
I don't want you to die, but whichever of you goes to the Eye of the World and is not the dragon, you will die there.
I can't lose anyone else.
I am here with a warning. What is she up to?
They know what I am.
No one does. What's gotten into you? There's an inherent darkness within him.
Faldara always will be able to protect its own.
You'll hear their screams as they die.
Oh man, that looked real good.
So I'm making a non-spoilery but kind of spoilery guess. There's a cool thing in the books that hasn't been in the show yet, where there's like a Zen meditation thing where Rand, when he does his archery, he like pictures a candle and like he puts all of his emotions into the candle, until there's nothing left, and then he fires the arrow. And I think we're gonna see that
Oh, that's
this, which is
sweet.
awesome.
Ooh, I
And
love that.
and I loved it growing
Yeah.
up, and it had a profound, like, it was definitely, I don't know, it just had a profound effect on me. I would picture that when I was concentrating on things, literally.
Mhm.
So
That's sweet. That's awesome.
I'm excited I'm excited that they're not going to cut that out. Like, it's that, and then there's like a famous line that Lan says that they'll probably say in the last episode. But anyway, I'm glad that they're going to do the flame in the void. That's really awesome.
I need to not say it in a way that spoils it, but I need a certain person, place, thing, idea to show up in the last episode. That I really
No one
hope
can
is
complain
there.
about that. It was like, oh,
Jeez.
you ruined it for
Spoiler
me.
alert.
I've read the books.
Jeez,
I have
what do you-
no idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
Exactly.
I'm
That was
so
very
annoyed right
very
now.
Aes Sedai of you. Very Aes
Yeah,
Sedai.
I like the fact that you do have a thing though that you are focused on, and when we do our last episode and you are cheering, I'll know that it worked.
It is
or screaming. Yeah, it's gonna
yeah.
go one more. Yeah.
we'll see.
I
We'll
mean,
see.
like, I love the there was, like, on Snow, there was like the sword guy who goes down and does the sword thing like that, and it's a very superhero move that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
And
I don't know where Snow is. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, because, like, you're looking there,
They're
they're
going
at
to
a
like
desert place.
the waste. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Not the
yeah,
waste. The what's it called?
Borderlands.
this,
That was called?
Yeah, but the what's it called? The area, because it's in between, because the frack, I don't know the book.
you're over the spine, right?
The Mines of
No, no,
Moria,
no.
that's what you're referring to, but this version of it, no.
It's because the Dark One's power is growing, and so it's
the Blight border.
the blight, yeah.
The blight, yeah.
So
And so
that
here's
is
an annoying thing. We mentioned, like, we don't have a map. It would be amazing. But I
Yeah,
think
I need a
because of
map.
Game of Thrones and their intro, now we
Right.
can't have a map.
Right.
And I just, because I'm
it's
just
so
like,
important.
You're
referencing
even
all
Lord of
these-
the Rings had a
seeing
map.
the mountain, or you're refusing to see the mountain.
Yeah.
As an artistic
Yeah.
statement. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I want
You're
that
correct.
map.
They can't have a map on this thing.
Yeah, this has been a hell of a lot of fun as always. I cannot wait to find out what happens. 2 more episodes left. I can't believe they're doing this in such a brief season, and it doesn't feel that. It has yet to feel rushed. It usually feels rushed though in the
I feel
Oh,
penultimate
rushed.
episode, which will be next
I feel
episode.
very rushed.
I thought
So-
the first or
You
second
do?
episode-
I feel very, very rushed.
Yeah,
Well,
the first one especially.
But that's me.
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, maybe the first episode. I'm just so glad I'm not a reader, because I'm just enjoying that.
Reading is hard, you guys. Who needs
Well,
it?
yeah, there's that. No, but because I haven't read the books and I do not know what I'm missing. But I'm sure Lorlor will tell me all I'm missing on the fan club. Just go nuts. Go
4
crazy.
million words, Lord. Drop it. Do it.
All right. So this was very exciting. Next episode, episode 7. I don't know. Do I have the title for that episode? I think I do. Hold on. Give me a second. I had it written down. It is 7. No, The Dark Along the Ways. So I guess
Ooh.
we'll see you all then. Until then, keep watching the skies. That's not even a Stargate reference.
No,
I don't know what
it's,
I'm doing anymore. It's all over the place.
For Santa?
Until then, enjoy the spiel. No, we need
all right.
The spiel weaves as the spiel wills.
There it is. That's what it
None
is.
of this is good.
That one was
None of
good.
it. No.
You don't know, but